This is a tutorial about the double locking corner joint. It's an interesting joint for draw fronts, especially for small draws. It has an advantage over dovetails in that it's very fast to cut. There's not a separate layout for draws of different depths. It can be cut mostly on the table saw with one cut on the router table. But everything has to be very precise, and this little tutorial will describe the best way to cut it, in my experience. The draw fronts are cut on a router table using a 1/4" slotting bit. The two critical dimensions are to leave a tongue at the bottom, the thickness that will fit into your saw kerf, so typically 3/32, and then the depth of the cut is equal to the thickness of the side, so typically 7/16. You can cut this using a stop on the end of a miter gauge, or as shown here, using a fence and just a square block of plywood that functions as a miter gauge. Either way works fine. Moving on to the box sides, these are cut on the table saw with a miter gauge. There are 3 cuts. 2 of them are at the same blade height, and the third is at a higher blade height. The 2 cuts that are at the same blade height, we space them by using a spacer block rather than moving the stop. That way we can go back for cut number 3 and with the stop in the same position. They can be cut in either of 2 ways, either indexing off of the front of the draw side, which is what I'm showing here first, or alternatively indexing off of the back of the box side. If all of your sides are the same length, it's easier to index off of the back. The manipulation of the spacer blocks is a little bit easier that way. But if you're cutting draw sides of different lengths, it's easier to index off of the front, and that way you can use all the same settings for the different drawers. Way for that third, which trims the little tongue to the right thickness to fit in the saw kerf, it's best to just sort of sneak up on that, raising the blade a little bit at a time and trial and error until you have the right height, and then you can run all your parts. Final cut allows the small tongue on the sides to fit into the top, and so you'll actually be trimming the thin tongue to length at the same time as you create a little notch for the tongue to fit into. And this is a cut that requires great precision, and I typically create extra stock to allow me to get that set up absolutely perfect. It's nice to have a micro adjust on your stop, and then again raise the blade up a little bit at a time to get that fit just right. And once you've got it dialed in, you can go ahead and make all your cuts. So you want to check that the part is going together square from side to front when this 5th and final cut is in the right place. So here's the joint being assembled. It slides together, not unlike a sliding dovetail. It's actually a form of sliding dovetail. So give it a try. I think you'll find it's kind of a fun joint to cut, and it's something that people don't see very often and will catch people's eyes.